I just don't understand. I feel like people who don't have a uterus shouldn't have. Don't have it. Now I'm going to ask you something controversial. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Waiting Room. I'm Divya Kamerkar, CEO and co-founder of Pinky Promise. I'm a biologist, and today I'm here to talk to you about something that you've been waiting to hear about, which is the HPV vaccine and cervical cancer. Now, recently, Government of India has announced that it's going to make cervical cancer vaccines free for 14-year-old girls, and because of that, internet toot pad gaya. There are so many people who are saying things against it, people who are saying things for it. There's even a case in the Supreme Court. And amidst all of this noise, it's my job to tell you the truth about HPV vaccine. And for that, I'm joined by Dr. Vinati Maniyar, obstetrician and gynecologist. She spent more than a decade treating cases of cervical cancer all across India, from Latur to Odisha to Bombay. And she's joining us today to tell us what you need to know about the vaccine. And no bullshit, no noise, just the truth. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Vinati.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with a simple question. What is this HPV virus? Like, what is it?
So it's a virus. The full form of it is human papilloma virus. Okay. What we need to understand is this virus actually has about 200 strains. Like in COVID, we used to have multiple strains which caused these multiple waves, right? Similarly, all viruses, and especially HPV virus, has about 200 strains. Not all strains are harmful or are going to cause, a lot of damage to women or in general to human beings. It is about 4 to 9 strains that we are actually something that we are worried about.
Okay, so that's super interesting. Now, everyone is talking about the HPV vaccine, right?
Yes.
There's so much buzz about it. What does the vaccine do in this case?
Okay, so targeting mainly those 4 to 9 viruses is what the vaccine is all about. So we have two types of vaccines. One is the quadrivalent vaccine, one is the nanovalent vaccine. About 95% of the cervical cancers are caused by these 4 strains.
What?
And the rest of the 5%, 5 to 10% is caused by the other 5 viruses.
ये तो बहुत interesting है, because from what I understand, the price jump between a vaccine that takes care of 4 and a vaccine that takes care of 9 is almost double.
Yes.
More than double sometimes. Right? What Dr. Vinati has to say is very interesting, because I've been seeing in the market that this quadrivalent is literally less than half the price of a 9-valent, when the 9-valent confers only a little bit more benefits. So I think that's for an aware consumer, it's very important to ask your gynac that which one should I actually be taking, what is my risk, and what is the right one for me. Thank you for that. I guess my next question is, who should be taking this HPV vaccine?
Almost everyone. So according to CDC, they don't mention whether it's a girl or a boy that needs to take it. They say children from 9 years of age and onwards. Basically, why they are including children from 9 years is because they're expecting that after that, at any point, there will be sexual activity. So ideally, clinically speaking, anyone before sexual activity will get the maximum benefit out of this vaccine. That is how it is. But say suppose you've been sexually active and then you have gotten aware of it, yet it is always beneficial to take this vaccine.
Okay, so I'm like almost 35.
Yeah.
Right? Now I choose those.
Yeah.
Does it make sense for me to get the vaccine? So what if, because now only there's so much awareness now that there is a vaccine. Right?
Yeah.
Now there's so much awareness. Now we know that this is going to be so beneficial. We also know that cervical cancer can kill. So most women who are older are thinking, oh no, मेरी तो मतलब बस निकल रही है यहाँ से. So what is your advice? Like, what should we be doing?
So this is actually a very common question that is asked in our OPDs also by the older women.
Yeah.
See, you need to understand that in your entire lifespan, 100% you've been exposed to some or the other strain of this virus. Okay. And our body has that immunity to be able to fight it out. Okay. But definitely someone who is younger, of an younger age group, will benefit much more than someone of our age, right? But up to 45 years of age, it is recommended to take it, so might as well take it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because the CDC also used to have an age cut.
Yes.
CDC used to say 20, 25 years. Beyond that, it's of no point. But then, instead of adopting an age cutoff perspective, I think what the CDC has now done is it's said that it's based on exposure. So if you are less exposed, even if you're 40 and you've not been that exposed,
Yes,
then I guess you have some benefit from the case.
that makes sense. We need to understand that one of the key aspects of cervical cancer is that the number of multiple sexual partners that you have. Yeah, it also plays a role. So what you're saying definitely does make sense.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you something controversial. So doctor ने just अभी बोला है ना, the number of multiple sexual partners that you have, it plays a role. So what we're seeing actually is there's a lot of pushback against the HPV vaccine. Do you think people are thinking that HPV vaccine is only for people who are extremely promiscuous in India? That is considered bad also.
Yes.
Is that something you're hearing?
100%. So that is why probably India has not been able to reach that stage where we can say that okay, maximum number of our women have been given this vaccine, because it's a taboo in our country. Because of course all this information gets mixed up and people do get this general feeling that we only if we've had multiple sexual partners should we go for this vaccine. But it is very important for us to understand that before sexual activity is when it's the most ideal time to take it.
Yeah.
Which means that irrespective why that is so, that say suppose out of these 4 strains, you've been exposed to one.
Good.
You're going to benefit with that vaccine for the rest of the 3 strains. Cervical cancer is one of the most common cancers in women. So, we also need to understand that this is one of the only cancers that is actually preventable with this vaccine. So then why not take the vaccine?
No, I think that the cervical cancer is a prime example of how something that is so beneficial to a woman is still being policed and controlled because it has some relationship with sexuality. अरे भाई सबको sexual activity तो करना ही है ना. So I don't understand. I get very annoyed when I hear all this stuff, but it's a reality that we have to contend with. I think it's the same. Like I feel like when you think about HIV, the highest rates of HIV amongst women are in women who are not straight from their marriage, but have been infected by partners. And here also, if a partner has that strain and you get exposed to it, it could be your only partner.
Yeah.
This is nothing like. Of course, your risk is increased because of multiple sexual partners, just from a mathematical standpoint. But it's just that. Even one can certainly give you enough exposure, right?
One partner, even one sexual activity, number of one sexual activity can expose you.
Yeah. So I hope more people think about it from preventative, like I want to help my child, I want to help my young daughter, I want to help my wife standpoint as opposed to this is bad. But I think now I've only talked about wife, I've only talked about daughter. But what about men? What about boys? Do they get vaccinated too?
Yes. So we need to also be very mindful of the fact that cervical cancer is not the only type of cancer that HPV causes, right? Less commonly, it also causes penile cancer, oropharyngeal cancer, right? So we need to talk about that as well. And like I said, CDC includes children, right? So though it's more well known as a girls' cancer vaccine, but it actually is to be taken by men also. So any child above 9 years of age, we must give them this vaccine.
So the government of India has recently announced that adolescent girls 14 years of age will get free access to the quadrivalent version of HPV vaccine. Not the boys, but just the girls.
Yes.
For me, that itself is a huge step forward.
100%. So a lot of people are questioning why are we not including everyone?
Yeah.
But we need to understand the government also has to keep all these barriers to be able to reach the maximum number of people. So we need to be patient. Okay. Once they reach that 14 years, they will be able to cover all the girls of the entire country, to have a very large population. So it's not easy to cover all of them, right? So once they reach that, they will include the other women as well, okay? And hopefully soon men also, boys also, right? So let's look at it positively that at least they've taken that initiative. Otherwise, everyone would have to spend that, cost of. They would have to bear the cost of the vaccination.
Yeah, the vaccine is not cheap.
Not
Public procurement of the vaccine is a hard one. The government is spending to get that. I think we forget that sometimes. But most of the countries that have actually shown a lot of improvement, so Australia, UK, there are many countries that have actually done nationwide efforts to vaccinate. They have not fixed on a certain age. They've looked at a certain age range.
Yes.
And they've also, at least in Australia, they have looked at boys, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think that does make a difference in terms of if you want to actually achieve a level of herd immunity, if you want to eliminate cervical cancer, you want to reach a point where you have 0 deaths due to cervical cancer, then covering broader will make sense. But right now, I feel like what the government is doing is looking at highest impact. It's like this one age group is, if I target it and I do it really well, then at least I'll have the highest impact in reducing death.
100%.
They're not looking at eliminating, they're looking at reducing the riskiest or reducing risk significantly.
Yes. Again, coming to the same point, population difference, right?
That's true.
That between our country and any other country for that.
Population difference, the cost difference, the amount that the government is able to pay from taxpayers' money.
Correct.
I think that's also a big one. But I think there's a little bit of controversy surrounding the HPV vaccine, which I really want you to get into, because for me, what matters is what a doctor who's actually, you worked in Latur, you worked in Odisha, you're working in a government hospital, as well as here. You're seeing such a diversity of cases, right? And I think there's been a lot of controversy to say that HPV vaccine is like a big pharma playing at because there's also a case going on right now in the Supreme Court. But they're saying that it's a big pharma attempt because there's lack of efficacy or lack of data to show efficacy in reducing deaths. RCT say it's approved नहीं हुआ है, etc., etc. Now, I think you can look at it as a data scientist, you can look at it as a doctor.
Yeah.
As a doctor, what is your take on this?
See, data scientists are, not seeing patients daily. So, as a doctor, we are seeing patients daily. We have seen cervical cancer patients. We've seen deaths because of this cancer.
Yeah.
At a rampant, large number, right? Yeah. Also, we screen HPV virus, right? Yeah. On a daily basis.
Yeah.
We do hundreds of pap smears, right? And the number of women, especially like we spoke about the older women, okay, who've actually had finished their family, completed their family and all of that. And those older women also having some pre-malignant lesion on their cervix.
Really, just break it down to us. What is a pre-malignant lesion?
So everyone who's watching, so basically, pap smear is one of the screening modules, right? Despite getting this vaccine, we have to also get ourselves screened very regularly, right? Yes. So this screening is done by pap smear, as well as there is something called liquid-based cytology, and there is a co-testing with the HPV-DL, right? To sum it up, the reports of these, what does it tell us, right? It tells us not only about cancer, okay, because most likely a cervical cancer we can visually also understand if it's a full-blown cancer, okay, but what we can diagnose with these testing, with this screening, is whether this patient is going to develop maybe 10-20 years down the line, is she prone to developing this cancer, okay, is what we can get to know right now. That's why the screening. Okay, so pre-malignant means before the malignant stage or before the cancer stage, wale lesions, we get to know with this pap smear. and the number of women is unreal. Okay, that we can prevent this cancer by the screening itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So coming back to your question about the vaccine itself, imagine if all these women would have taken the vaccine at an earlier age.
Yeah.
Right? They would not even have to go through the treatment of this pre-malignant lesion. Forget cancer. And the number of women who are actually having this cancer it's clear.
There was one of the highest death rates due to cervical cancer.
Yes.
And I mean, this is not something we have to wear proudly.
Yeah. So data has its own take, of course.
So I think what is really interesting is many papers here, right? And when I saw these papers, I realized that the biggest point of criticism that they have is that you are stopping the trials that have been done to test the efficacy of this vaccine. They have looked at whether in those trial cases, whether the rate of these pre-malignant lesions have actually reduced down.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying is अगर pre-malignant lesion नहीं है तो फिर the rate at which you're going to develop then into cancer is also very low. And so therefore the vaccine is effective.
No, but not all pre-malignant lesions are 100% going to be converted.
Correct, of course.
It's cervical cancer.
Yes.
That is also something that you have to take
Of
into
course.
consideration. Yes.
But they're looking at markers of cervical cancer. They're saying because these markers are getting reduced by the vaccine is effective.
100%.
And I think that is, you cannot go beyond that because
No.
medical ethics is a subject, right? You cannot actually say that I'm going to let this, in those test subjects who are actually real people, I'm going to let it progress into
cancer. Exactly. 100%. Of course, you are not going to
Uh-huh.
let someone who's having a pre-malignant lesion, you're not going to let that person go into a cancer and then say, acha, she could have been prevented.
And now this cancer vaccine is effective.
Correct.
So I think that is the limitation.
The line you have
Like,
drawn.
yeah, you have to draw a line. There is a limitation. Now people are using this limitation as a reason to show that
It's a pharma.
it's a pharma
Company. Yeah.
I just don't understand. I feel like people who don't have the interest
Shouldn't have.
don't have shouldn't have such a overtly strong opinion
Yes.
on something that is concerning well-being of a person with uterus. But I think now let's get into the something that I'm also really interested in understanding, which is if a person hasn't gotten the vaccine, what does that person have to do to stay safe? Right? Like if I'm in my 30s and 40s and you've been exposed, you've had a family or you're sexually active or things like that, and clearly you've been exposed because I've told you इतना बड़ा family of virus. So then what should I do to stay safe?
So screening, that we spoke about it, right? Vaccination is one aspect for prevention, but for diagnosis and early diagnosis, screening. Up to the age of 30, it is recommended to get screened with pap smear alone every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
And after the age of 13, they're saying we should do a pap smear as well as a co-testing with HPV DNA. And once you do that co-testing, you can get it done every 5 years. But this should be done regularly.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that people don't know that.
Yes.
A lot of people, when they say pap smear, they think that it also includes the HPV DNA. And a lot of people, when they say when they are like above 30, don't realize that they have to ask.
Correct.
So if you're above 30, get it done. Get a pap smear along with the DNA, HPV DNA test done, because once you do that, you know your baseline, you know where you are, and then every 5 years you get repeated.
Yes.
And expect.
One more apprehension that we face a lot in the OPD is pap smear staying for, right?
Yes.
So that is something that everyone needs to understand, that if you are mentally open to it, it is a very, very gentle process. See, anyways, you've come to us, we are going to examine you, okay, with a spectacle. With the right counseling, with the right, guidance, and with the right hands. It's not painful at all.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely you'll feel a little bit of discomfort because there's something entering inside. Okay. but that is just the speculum, the instrument that causes that little bit of discomfort. But we all use these numbing creams and numbing jellies so that you don't feel that pain. If you keep your body relaxed, you don't tighten it with fear. And if you keep your body relaxed, it's not going to be painful. That is my guarantee. 100%, the pap smear itself is not at all painful because it's just a brush or just a spatula.
Yeah.
Okay, and we just swipe the cells. So the pap smear itself is not painful. Maybe that entering of that speculum can be painful, but it's ideally not painful. You just need to be very relaxed. You have to keep your pelvis relaxed, and that's upon your gynae to help you with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the first time I ever got a pap smear, I was freaking out.
Yes.
I was fully freaking out. In the US, and especially at Yale, they're like really good about the awareness part. So they're like, once you're 21, you gotta get it done. Right? So I was 21, like chalo pap smear karte, and I was freaking out, but because I had the right information, because I knew what to expect, because I had the right counseling, and because I was fully informed and consenting when that speculum went inside, I was very comfortable and I was able to get it done. And I was like, "Arey, iske liye maine itna zyada socha." But I do feel like that part in India we really need to work on, which is informing the patient step by step about everything that she has to expect. I feel like you do such a good job because you're also all about this. But we need a lot more of that, at least. But okay, so that's helpful to know that the bus hasn't left the station. The train hasn't left the station. Even if you haven't gotten the HPV vaccine and you're older, getting the pap smear done is important. But आप एक बात मुझे बताइए, if I have got the HPV vaccine done, do I still need a pap smear?
100%. The vaccine, like I told you, is going to protect you only from those 4 strains or 9 strains. What about the rest? Okay. The pap smear or the screening is going to test you for all, basically. Right? So you have to, whether you take the vaccine is a dependent screening.
Yeah, I think the way that I see this, it reduces your risk significantly, but it doesn't eliminate your risk.
100%.
So getting the pap smear done alongside your vaccine. So get vaccinated, but regularly getting a pap smear done keeps you cold.
Vaccine is, the sensitivity of the vaccine is also 95%, like you said.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think one last thing that gives me hope is with pap smears also now, early detection. Tell me if I'm wrong, but what I've read about is that with early detection, the prognosis is excellent.
100%. That's what I said. Like you can, the pre-malignant lesions, the treatment of it is very easy. You undergo that treatment, you're saved.
I think it can happen
in an OPD. In an OPD procedure.
You don't even need to get admitted.
100%. Yes.
That's crazy. You just basically use that device as a handheld device. You use it, and the person is sorted.
There is something called as cryotherapy which you can go for. So those kind of things are it's absolutely curable. So prevention and cure, we are both.
Wash.
Yeah.
No, I think it's been such an illuminating conversation. What's really hopeful and good is the fact that the government is actually making these vaccines available. Because the government is making these vaccines available for 14-year-olds, suddenly there's so much more conversation about it. More people are becoming aware of it than they have ever been.
Yes.
And more women are asking us questions about the cervical cancer vaccine, about HPV, about how to protect themselves. And there is so much hope in the form of a vaccine. So stay informed, stay protected, ask your gynecologist thousands and thousands of questions, and if you don't know who to reach out to, Dr. Gunati is right here. And so thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.